ويقول حضرته نستطيع أن نرى ذلك في الاجتماعات والجلسات السنوية، حيث يجتمع الكثير من الأحمديين للاستماع إلى كلمات وغيرها من الجلسات. ويقول أن في جلسة قبل عدة سنوات كان هنالك أكثر من 10,000 من المشتركين في هذه الجلسة، ولقد كان في الجلسة واشترك في الجلسة عضو من البرلمان، وقد قال عندها مستغربا أن هنالك شيء لاحظته وهو عجيب وغريب جدا، أن هنالك شرطي واحد في دورية واحدة، وهذا ما استغربت منه، حيث يأخذ أو يشرف على 10,000 من هؤلاء الأحمديين، فأي من أناس أنتم؟ فأعطى مثال وقال نحن إذا اجتمعنا وكان هنالك 500 من المشتركين يشتركون في مجلس معين، فلا بد أن يكون هنالك 50 شرطيا لئلا يقوم أحدهم بخصام أو يحدث أي شيء من هذا. فهذه هي الجنة الجنة هي التي ذكرت في القرآن الكريم، وأن نحن نحاول أن ننفذ هذه
not Jannah, something close to that Jannah.
وأن شيئا
not perfectly that of course.
صحني أمير المؤمنين وقال أن هذه ليست الجنة، وشيء شبيه بالجنة على هذه الأرض، وهذا ما نحاول نحن الأحمديين في الوصول إليه على هذه الأرض أيضا.
Now shall we turn to you this time? Okay, please.
هذا سؤال من الأخ أحمد أبو مطر، وهو من أوسلو بالنرويج.
من أوسلو؟
نعم.
That's right.
نص سؤال كالآتي، يقول: ما رأيكم في الطريقة التي انتشر فيها الإسلام في زمن الرسول محمد صلى الله عليه وسلم والخلفاء الراشدين من بعده؟ ألم ينتشر بالسيف والقوة؟ وإلا فما معنى تسمية الفتوحات الإسلامية؟ ثم يقول: هل يكون الفتح بغير القوة؟
Translation, please.
This is a question from Mr. Ahmad Abu Matar from Norway, and he's saying that what do you think about the way Islam has conquered the world at the time of the Holy Prophet ﷺ?
Islam began its conquest at the time of the Holy Prophet, not the whole world.
Yes.
He says in the beginning, in Medina and Mecca, how did Islam spread if not with the help of the sword?
Yes.
That is what he said.
Yes.
And if sword is not used, how will Islam become conqueror of the world? He is in fact attacking our philosophy, that the messages must be spread with the help of logic and love and persuasion, not with sword. Now this argument of this gentleman has no legs to stand upon, because it does not work right from the beginning. You see, he forgets that 13 years of Hadhrat Muhammad Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam was spent in Mecca, where not once any sword was wielded for the defense of Islam or the defense of Muslims. They were totally helpless. Which sword conquered Abu Bakr? Which sword conquered Ali? Which sword conquered Umar and Usman and those who began to spread? Despite the fact that sword was against them, they continued to multiply and flourish. And which sword it was which sent Islam to Medina and went along with it? Which sword it was which turned the Aus and Khazraj, the majority of them, to Islam? Can he quote any sword? Which sword it was which gave birth to other swords? So this is a perfect formula. Spread our message with peace and in peace. The sword was employed by the enemies to suppress this message. And there is a proof, mathematical proof, where facts and figures speak, that Islam never spent as fast at the time of wars as it spread in the time of peace. Moreover, the sword came from Mecca to Medina to destroy Islam. When it went to Medina, no sword was raised. The conquest was peaceful. 10,000 Qudusi, those who were made clean and pious by Muhammad Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. They followed him to Mecca, and the instruction was, no sword must be raised. Which sword conquered Mecca then? There's no battle, no battle fought between the so-called invaders and those who defended themselves. So the whole history of early Islam belies this damaging allegation, this nonsensical allegation that Islam needed sword for its spread. Sword reached Medina to conquer them. At the time of Badr, the sword reached Medina from Mecca at the time of Uhud, again to conquer them and destroy them. The sword which was raised in defense, how can you address that sword as the means of spread of Islam? It's sheerly meaningless, totally unfounded allegation against Islam. Now, other figures which I quote, at the time of the Badr, all the force which the Muslims could muster was just 313, old and young and healthy and unhealthy people, those who have only one leg to hop on. This was the entire army of Muslims. Then at the time of Uhud, between these two, no battles were fought, and the army of Muslims rose to 3,000. When were they converted by sword, and how? And then between the Uhud and Ahzab, which battle was fought? The people who had invaded at the time of Uhud had gone back apparently victorious. No conversions were made. And when they returned again at the time of Ahzab, they found 7,000 defenders of Islam. Which sword had done that? I'm amazed at the blindness of people who just talk of these wars and say Islam had sword and spread. It did not spread by sword. Then came Sulh Hudaybiyah. Between Ahzab and Sulh Hudaybiyah there was very little difference. And between this and that time, 10,000 warriors, men, had already become Muslims. I am abhorred. I can't express my horror and detestation at this allegation, this blind allegation, by quoting some wars. Look here, the Islam sword became conqueror, and this is how Islam emerged victorious. It emerged victorious despite sword being raised against it, not with the help of sword. So it will be. So now it is being victorious today before your very eyes, in the form of Islam as is followed by Anti-Ahmadiyya. The spread of Islam over all the continents, over more than 150 countries, is a 100% certain proof that no sword is needed for the spread of the message. Which sword is raised by the Ahmadis in Pakistan? All the sword is in the hands of the enemies, and the necks belong to the Ahmadis and the heads. Yet they go on multiplying. This is the dumbest lie which one can hear, that Islam needed the sword for its support and spread the message. But the time for translation is no more. Let's wait for the next time, and then you will translate, and in the meantime, when you finish, I hope to be right on time. Okay? So our Arab friends and brothers and sisters have to wait for the translation till next time. Tell them this much.
لقد أزف الوقت في هذه الحلقة وليس لدينا الوقت